Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 1 discussion. Every league, there are a couple of possibly unintended crafting methods that players come up with. Here you will see a poor example of the one we're going to talk about today, but why don't I show you something a little bit better as well. So this thing here is a masterpiece that is Menagerie. The one that I've made myself though, is one that I did while I was trying to reconstruct the precise method that players were using. So it all starts with Hands of the High Templar. Now these items at the time I'm recording this video, this is the common drop from regular Sirus, and they're currently going for 1 Divine Orb in trade. Who knows by the time you get around to this what price they'll be, but that's where they are right now. You're also going to need a Karui Enshrouding Crystal. These things are available in somewhat bulk for less than 10c each, and we're just going to make a few of these into Enshrouded Gloves. Now these remember that they're Hands of the High Templar. They also remember that they're item level 86. And I think every single one of these that exists in the game will be item level 86. We're then going to go into a Domain of Timeless Conflict. Now, depending upon your character power, you might decide to do this in the 2-way, 3-way, 4-way, or 5-way Domain of Timeless Conflict. Actually, the cheapest way is just going to be to spam 3 ways, but if time is critical to you, then 5 ways are faster, and 5 ways will drop more other rewards. You make up your mind. You don't need to complete all of the enshrouding in one run. Here, you'll see the example of what I made beforehand, and here I cracked this out of the enshrouding crystal after only 1 variant rarity. I don't think it's yet clear whether we want to amp this up higher or not. And then at that point, it turned into the very bad unique gloves Ondar's Clasp. Those Ondar's Clasps then were applied Vaal Orbs to them, and because they remember Hands of the High Templar's special modifier that this item can be modified while corrupted, you can keep spamming Vaal Orbs. One or two things is going to happen. Either that mod is going to get removed, in which case item is bricked, no further to go, or alternately, you'll end up bricking it to a rare. When it bricks to a rare, there is a lot more that we can do, because once it's a rare, you can apply Gilded Fossils to it. And once you can apply Gilded Fossils, that is where the fun truly begins. So, what I'm going to do at this point is pause the video for a bit while I just go and set everything up. But for those of you that aren't familiar with the actual process here, just go and insert an item into each of these. You don't need to finish them in one run, so if you're not capable of getting 5,670 kills in one run, that's actually no problem. They'll be there, they'll remember that they're there, and the next time you step into the Domain of Timeless Conflict, you'll find them there again. So insert everything, get started. This is only the 3-way Domain of Timeless Conflict, but like I said, you can do it in 3, 4, 5, whatever is your personal preference, or even 2, and then that will just dictate how long it will take. So we're going to jump forward in time until after I have done all of the things necessary to prep these. The more powerful your character is, the faster that this process will go.
I need more mana.
Once you're done, just pull them all out. And if you want to overcharge them, be my guest. I'm not for the purposes of this video, but you can if you want. So at this point, we're free to attempt to go further with our crafting. So there are 2 possibilities as to what's going to happen here. Well, actually 3. 3 where will be nothing meaningful happens is one possibility. Another possibility is that the item ends up losing, can be modified while corrupted, and gaining a Vaal Implicit. And another possibility is that it bricks to rare. I believe it's 1 in 4 that it bricks to rare and 1 in 4 that it gains a Vaal Implicit. So essentially it's 50-50 which of them happens first. Telepathy here remained unchanged. Now this time it's gone +1 maximum frenzy charges. This is actually a disappointing outcome here, even though that is a good implicit in general. It doesn't really have any synergy with the item it's on, and this one is finished now. Facebreaker, brick to rare, perfect, that's what we want. We're not doing anything further with that yet. Triad Grip, this one brick to rare, that's what we want. And Akuna's Will, no effect or no meaningful effect, and this time it gained a Vaal Implicit 10% cast speed. So these 2 are finished, but these 2 have the capacity to go further. At this point, we're going to start doing some more interesting things. Here, what we're going to do is add an additional implicit onto these gloves, because currently they only can be modified while corrupted. What this means is that if you were to apply a Vaal Orb to it, and it were to gain a Vaal Implicit, then that Vaal Implicit would overwrite the can be modified while corrupted implicit that's currently on it. However, we can add an additional implicit to it via the use of a Gilded Fossil. These currently cost about 30 chaos to use. After this, we're now in a position where we can further Vaal the item. Now, there are a couple of things that can happen here. It is getting increasingly more likely that we're going to start losing can be modified while corrupted before we overwrite item cells for much more to vendors with an implicit. But at this point, the item's not worth so much that we would want to take any extreme measures. So let's just apply a Vaal Orb to it and see what happens. And this time, nothing appreciably happened here. When you do see nothing happen, there's a couple of things it can mean. One of them is that the item has rolled that it is actually no changes. The other one is that it got one of the socket modifying effects. I can also re-roll the rare mods on it as well, so there's quite a few things that can go weird with it. On average, it's going to take you 4 Vaal Orbs to get each one of these to happen, and unfortunately, we've just hit an end. So here, we lost the special modifier, the exclusive modifier to this item, the one that came from the original Sirus gloves. This item is now finished. However, we've got another chance here, so let's see what we can do with this one. Firstly, it's back to applying a Gilded Fossil to it again. And now at this point, we've got another chance to see if we can get any further with this one. No appreciable change. I think that may have actually chromed it. And unfortunately, again, we hit +1 to level of socketed gems, which is normally an awesome corruption, but unfortunately, it didn't replace the right thing. So where would we go from here? You'll notice that these now are unable to be crafted further. They're just bricked. However, if we had had more success and we'd ended up succeeding in getting to a point where we have 2 successful implicits at the same time, then at that point you can take some more extreme measures. At this point, it's time to go to the bestiary. Now, one thing I did try with this one, and unfortunately it did not work. I wanted to test this out to be certain, but I tried using the bestiary craft that says make an imprint of a magic item. Editing log here. When I was recording this, I had the interaction right, but I had the reasoning wrong. So the reason that you can't go back from an imprint is because the item that you're attempting to restore from the imprint is unable to be modified because it has lost the mod that this item can be modified while corrupted. Therefore, it can't be modified while corrupted, and the imprint isn't going to overwrite that by bringing it back to a state that it was before that, because you can't apply the imprint at all. There is, however, a more extreme method that you can use. The more extreme method is to use the Black Morrigan craft that allows you to apply a Hinekora's lock to a magic item. So you can end up with an item that has foreseeing, that is a Vestigial unique like this, that has multiple implicits on it, one of which is item cells for much more to vendors, and then you can apply Vaal Orbs to it and see what happens. This can get fairly expensive. You're going to be using a lot of Black Morrigans to do this, but that is how those 5 implicit monstrosities have been created. Once you've got the 5 implicits done, one of them will be this item can be modified while corrupted. The other 4 will be active implicits to do something useful. At that point, you can then use any crafting method that works on regular items. One thing I would consider using at this point is some of the classic Sirus era influence items, especially the elevated mods. And the very best items that have been crafted with this so far have been Awakener Orb crafts. Make sure that you're very familiar with the rules of exactly how Awakener Orbs work. Make sure that the second item clicked is the Vestigial one. And if you do that, you can create some absolute monsters of items, like some of the gloves that I've been seeing around Lynette lately. However, do expect that this is going to use dozens and dozens of Black Morrigans. Now, there is a saying that people have in Path of Exile, sometimes the best thing to be is not the person that is doing the meta farm, it is the person selling shovels to the people that are doing the meta farm. If you would like to sell shovels, then go and farm beasts. Beasts have got a huge buff indirectly out of players discovering exactly how these Vestigial things work. One thing that remains to be worked out is just how many times you want to charge up your gloves in the domain of Timeless Conflict, whether you want to charge them once, twice, or 3 times. There's an open question as far as I'm concerned. Someone will have opinions on it. It wouldn't surprise me if 3 times is actually the best, because a lot of the very, very low level accessible gloves, which will be the ones that have the lowest base stats, so evasion rating, energy shield, a lot of the very lowest level ones will be the ones that are tier 5 rarity. And once you start building up variant rarity, you almost completely ban tier 5 items. You'll still see tier 4 ones a lot, you'll still see tier 3 ones very frequently, but you won't see tier 5s almost at all, and so that's something you may want to consider. Maybe you want to remove them from the mod pool, maybe you don't. That's up to you. Anyways, There's a lot still to be discovered here, but this is the basics of it. May your Vaal Orbs have interesting results, may you use a lot of them, and don't forget, always use protection first, in the form of a Beastcraft that applies a Hinekora's Lock to a magic item, and if your item isn't magic, just scour it and transmute it until it is.